All right, so we're putting bomb bay doors in the B-24, Flightline B-24. And so I recommend when doing modifications with foam, get one of these knives. You can cut real deep with them or shallow. But we'll cut this line and we're going to cut this line. And then we'll cut down the center and see where that gets us. Now when you're cutting these lines, cut onto the right side towards the door side. Okay, we'll do that to both sides. Okay, and we'll want to cut our door here. And then when we cut the center, we cut it straight down, but then to get the doors to pop open or to get access to it, because there's bulkhead in here, kind of go in at a little bit of an angle from that center line. I had to go left. Because when you get it to where it opens, you might have to do a little bit of prying. Because as you see, there's bulkhead in the center. You got bulkhead here and in the back here. So you just have to make sure that you get it through, and that's where the long knife comes into play. Once you have if you have a long enough knife, I'd cut straight down, but then I had to kind of come in at an angle because straight down was kind of into the bulkhead. So I had to come in at an angle. We'll clean this part here up. And we can actually do that with this knife. Take it to that bulkhead. And there's going to be glue right in there, so we'll be careful there. I'll just take that piece out. All right, so that's our piece. And what I'm going to do for the other side, because you can see it was pieces glued together. So we'll lay him here. You can kind of see the seam right here. So this was how it was assembled. So it looks like a slot and tab maybe here. So we're just going to go down here and we're going to cut right across there and see where that gets us. So I don't need that much. That should get us, and we'll kind of cut down at an angle with it too. So we want to go right at the corner. Just right along that seam. I don't know how thick this bulkhead is here. Let's run it again. And we may have something similar on this side. I might have to recut that one as well. All right, that feels pretty good. See if we can kind of see where we're held up now. Feels like it's on that back side. Maybe some on that front side as well. So again, we want to get in here. Make sure we're angled inward. Okay. Same with this one here. Yeah, I think right in there. So make sure we got a good angle. There we go. Okay, let's see. Get this thing to move here. Feels like it's starting to want to come loose. See, I'm getting some separation, but I'm getting some hang up, it feels like, right in here. That's all loose. Yeah, I think my hang up is all right in there. So let's try this again here. There we go. That feels like that broke loose. Alright, looks like we're coming out. Yeah, still stuck a little bit in that glue joint right there. Right up in there. So let's cut it an angle downward like this. There we go. All right. So again, you can see because of that bulbous point out, we could have gone deeper with our straight cut and gotten through that. Or you can just angle cut. So now we have both of our doors open there. And we'll clean this side up as well. Give ourselves a little bit more knife to work with there. All right. Clean up the bulkhead here. We might leave this. That still will provide some rigidity to the airframe for the center part, because your wings right there as well. Wouldn't want anything folding on us in flight. So we'll just clean these up just a touch. go. So we'll probably tack a little extra glue right in these areas right here, just for extra support for the airframe. Because every cut you make has the possibility of weakening the airframe. Alright, well, we'll get in this and see where we want to install our servos at, and how we want to do our horns, hinges, and go from there. Now, I want to sand the edges of this just a little bit, just so the fit's not quite so tight. And I want just a little bit of an angle. Alright, so after sanding, let's see how our fit is. Got just a slight little rub on the left side. I think we'll clean this up here a little bit. Yeah, just a little foam rub right there. So now this might seem nutty to some of you, but we're going to just take some foam tack, and we're just going to run just a small bead just right on the inside right here. I should say the outside, but just right on the edge. And we're going to use that for our hinge. Just want to keep it, we don't want to get it on the inside. Just right on the very edge. Just the smallest bead. All right. Okay. Now we're going to stick our door back on there in the closed position. And we're going to run our bead along the outside here as well. This tube's almost empty. And this one we're going to kind of flatten and widen out along the outside there. Almost out of glue in this tube. Smooth that out. let that dry. And that'll give us a nice flexible hinge. All right, let's see if this hinge works. Hey, look at that. It's a nice flexible hinge. That's as good or better than a foam hinge. Yeah, I like it. And for closure, we'll have our servo, and I might put some magnets in here too, just to help kind of snap it shut, but we'll see. Maybe towards the back, because I'm going to put my servo arm up front here, but we'll see. Okay, so here's what we got so far. We've got our foam tack hinges going, and I use these anywhere on my airplanes where I'll have a foam hinge. A lot of times those will break, and I just go in with a foam tack and put a light line on there, and that works really good. I haven't had those fail on me like the foam hinges. These I'll trim off here in a little bit, but those are my control horns right there. And I used different servos. I should have used these guys, but I used a couple different servos in here. Just some stuff I have left over, just using up what I've got. But you know, if you use a standard servo, you could either use a reversing servo and go ahead and put your servo exactly the same way as it is on this side. But if not, then just switch the direction of your servo. So you notice how I got this one facing to the firewall here, or bulkhead, and this one's facing away from the bulkhead. So that way when I'm operating them on a Y harness, they'll both operate in the same direction as far as closing and opening the doors. And that should be about it. I'll get this wire I ran down right here where the step's at, and this wire I'm going to run down by the bulkhead back over here. But to get that other wire, I had to get up underneath this step right here. The foam comes out. I grabbed it with some pliers and pulled it out from underneath there. It was a tight fit, but was able to get it. And that other wire, we'll see where it pulls out in here. And then we'll get this thing tested out. But as far as your doors opening are going to be somewhat like that. And if you look at your vertical, that clears the vertical. So here's the inside. This is not by any means scale for this aircraft, but that still gets you cleared of your bay. So anything that's in there should drop down without causing too much interference with your doors there. To get them to open wider would take a lot more throw on the servos or a longer arm, and by all means you could probably modify something to do that, to get them to open up a little bit wider if you wanted to, but I think this will be more than adequate. Okay, so I got that wire run through, and we will we'll just glue it in place there, but we'll just run on a servo tester. That's kind of a 3-position. And so there's fully open, and then there's fully closed. The noisy servo is the blue one. That's why I said I should have gone with the Metal Gear servo. It's just a better servo than a little cheap blue one. But like I said, just using what I have on hand. But that should be working pretty good. And load it up with some bombs and test it. Okay, so I loaded it up with 8 bombs. Let's see how it works. And there they go. So you put that on a 2-position switch and it'll pop right open, and away they go. All bombs are clear. Now we got a cratered floor.